Welcome to the stage, Christina Lashley. Come on, give her a big round of applause. A little bit louder. It does help to get it nice and loud, right?
Okay, yeah. Let's just work. Hi, my name is Christina. I just wanted to first and foremost thank you all so much for coming tonight. Tonight we would like to honor all the alumni, and for my behalf, thank you, and for also from the alumni that weren't able to come tonight, welcome to our home. I wanted to open tonight and to speak a little bit about my story, and hope you all enjoy the rest of the evening. So, like I said, my name is Christina. When I was first born, I had the odds stacked against me. I was born to a single mother, and I was already rejected by my biological father and his family because of my mother and her race of being Black. I was lucky in the sense of I also had an older sister, Angela, who truly cared for me and stepped into the role as my guardian. My mother wasn't able to take care of me as she would like to due to heavy drug and alcohol abuse. And at the age of 18, for my sister, she was given full custody of me as a child. My sister and I went through a lot of hardship when I was younger, and she was 7 months pregnant and 19 years old. We were kicked out of our house, and we had 48 hours to leave New York and find a new home. 48 hours seemed so much longer than it should have. But my sister and I took everything that we had in two suitcases and went down to North Carolina to live with my aunt. I didn't have a home, and ever since then, changing schools and houses every single year, never have a stability or any place to call home. My sister, in the video, like she said, saw that there was something that I was lacking, and luckily she found Corral. Corral would end up being my forever home, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Corral, every single morning, I would be coming in during the week and every Saturday, no matter rain, sunshine, tornado warning, or whatnot. We would all come in, and Miss Joy would always welcome us, no matter our attitude, no matter how we were feeling that day, even if we yelled or screamed, she would always welcome us as her own. Corral would give me the tools and help me realize that I was worthy and able to accept everything that I wanted to, and if I was wanting it so much, then if I worked hard for it, then I was able to achieve it no matter what. It didn't matter where I came from, it didn't matter what the statistics were or who my family was or where I came from. I was always able to get it if I wanted it, and that is what I had wanted. Corral would help me and achieve to make me become college tracked. I would go into Corral also being a straight D and F student, but shortly after, all through middle school, I graduated with straight A's. High school, I was an A and B student with academics, honor roll, AP. I was also involved in track, and I would be on the varsity team ever since freshman year, and we would be going to conferences, personal invitational meets, and also nationals. So I was pretty bent on doing what I wanted and being a go-getter if that is what I wanted to. And Miss Joy and the rest of the team always believed in me as well. Later on, I would also have the odds stacked against me as well. My household would fall apart, and we would have to be homeless once again. With this being said, I wasn't able to control anything at all anymore. Being a young child, I wanted the adults to just get along, even though they couldn't, and I didn't understand that. But Miss Joy knew that she needed to let me go, and she could no longer hold my hand. And seeing that in her eyes and not understanding what that meant, she sat me down. She said, "Christina, this will be your last day at Corral." And as hard as that was for her, I understand what that message was. I would leave Corral and live with my sister once again, and we would find a new home and a new school. And for a long time, I felt very ashamed because it wasn't the success story of going through Corral and completing it like we were supposed to. But I would eventually complete high school, and I wasn't sure what was going on, and I would lead myself into an administrative psychiatric hospital because I didn't know how to use the tools that Corral had given me. I didn't have Miss Joy to hold my hand or to guide me anymore. So afterwards, I had came out and I was at home, and it didn't feel like home anymore. I would be around my sister, I would be around my family, and I didn't feel the love or the passion or the motivation that I wanted from myself. And so I decided to come home once again. I came back to Corral a year later, I would say about last year during COVID, and I talked to Miss Joy, and she welcomed me with open arms. And it was so liberating knowing that I had not accomplished what she had set out for me. I had not accomplished the goals that she knew that I could have achieved, and I ultimately felt like a failure. But she didn't see any of that. She saw one of her own coming home, needing help, and just wanting to be loved. I came back to Corral during the very beginning of COVID, and I was just working with these young women as we were in pods and servicing them Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. all the way until 5 p.m. every single week until the school semester was done. And just seeing the resilience within these young women and knowing that if they were able to get up each morning and come into Corral and basically have Corral be their school, and with the team that they had here, then I could also go ahead and do it for my own. So as of now, I am still a staff member here at Corral. I am also getting my associates in business analytics, and I am also nominated to be on the governor's crime council for juvenile well-being. And I just want to say thank you, and it is so long overdue. But from the Christina from the past, thank you. And from the Christina before you, thank you all so much. And for the me and for the rest of the girls that would be in Corral are the future, and thank you so much for being here and supporting us. And even though I may not be able to speak to every one of you or hold your hand or hug you, you are received in every single way possible. And I appreciate you all.
She's incredible, isn't she? It's so amazing to see what kind of adult she has become, and I'm so lucky that I get to do this mission alongside her now, because she is on staff here at Corral. Her story is one of just tremendous resiliency, and we are so incredibly proud of all that she's accomplished. So I'm the Miss Joy that she referenced in her story. My husband and I founded Corral in 2008 with the vision of ensuring that young women like Christina would have access to a bright future. And it's so inspiring tonight to see dozens of our alumni here and see that that vision has become a reality. And I'm so glad that you all get to be a part of this night too, to be inspired alongside me. And get to hear these stories and see these stories. So with that in mind, I've invited some of our alumni to join me on stage. These are young women who've been a part of the program over the last 14 years. And our hope is to have a panel discussion to talk about their journey, to talk about the day in and day out at Corral, and share with you what Corral is about. Because Corral is a long-term, holistic program. What we're trying to do is pair equine therapy with a rigorous college preparatory environment to prepare young women for their bright futures. So hopefully, through the words of these women, you will hear what over a decade of investment from donors like you has actually manifested in their lives. I should let you know as we prepare for this panel that the ladies and I, we discussed the stories they wanted to share. And so my questions are specifically crafted to make sure they get to tell their stories. So we're gonna dive in, and we're gonna start with my first question, which I'm so excited about. I do have a mic. All right, can you hear me here? Great. All right, so my first question is, ladies, when I started Corral, I didn't really have visions of growing a community nonprofit. My vision was always about you ladies and what you would become. I knew that God intended something so much greater for you than what the world was offering you. And I see now with all of you on stage and many of you in the audience that vision has become a reality. So I'd like to hear from you to begin. What are these bright futures that you're living out now? Can you share them with us? Okay, I believe Sierra, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I'm a rising senior at Winston-Salem State University, where I'm working to obtain a bachelor's degree in rehab studies. My plan is to further my education even more by obtaining my master's degree. My goal is to become a middle school counselor. I'm also learning American Sign Language so that I'll be able to work part-time as a medical interpreter. Lastly, I recently moved into my own apartment, and yes, it's as great as I imagined it to be.
Okay, I believe Danley. Would you like to go next?
Yes. So my name is Danley. I currently am a mom to 4 children and married. I received my associate's degree in business from Wake Tech, and I currently am a full-time real estate agent.
All right, Annalisa, you're next.
Hi, I'm Annalisa. I am pursuing or have my vet tech diploma from online college from Penn Foster.
And you've been working as a vet tech at the same practice?
For 2 years.
That's awesome. Jillian.
I'm Jillian. I am a rising senior at UNC Greensboro. I continued riding into college, and I just finished competing at national championships for IHSA, which was really exciting. I also am going to be captain of my equestrian team next year, which is really exciting, and I'm completing my 2nd summer internship.
Awesome. And then, Christina, you have a little bit more to tell us about your bright future.
Hi, my name is Christina. I am attending at Wake Tech to get my associate's degree in business analytics. I also am a part-time worker at Corral on the weekends and full-time at FedEx Freight.
We're very proud of these women. They've accomplished great things, but they're not the only ones. We have so many alumni here that have accomplished great things as well, and we're so proud of all of you. So my next question is, Corral uses the term girls in high-risk situations. We really hate the word at-risk girls because we recognize, ladies, that many of the circumstances, the odds that you had stacked against you, were none of your doing. And so when we say girls in high-risk situations, we're talking about the things that you were struggling with when you first started Corral. So if you don't mind sharing, Annalisa, I think you're bold enough. Would you mind sharing a little bit about some of the things you're struggling with?
So when I first came to Corral, my backstory is basically I was adopted from Guatemala at 7 months, and when me and my mom and brother came back, I remember a certain situation. I was at a parent-teacher conference, and a teacher basically told me that she didn't expect anything from me because of my background. Yeah. So,
So how did that affect you in school?
honestly, I didn't believe in myself at all. Yeah, and it was pretty hard. Sorry.
That's okay. And so when you first started at Corral, like how was school and what were you like as a student?
I was flunking all my classes, basically.
But when you finished Corral,
I had all A's throughout high school.
she finished high school as a straight A student. And Jillian, you had some struggles when you started Corral too. Do you mind sharing those struggles with us?
Yeah, so when I came to Corral, I was finishing my 7th grade year for the second time. I had failed the first time, and after hearing that I felt like I wasn't smart enough to do it when they told me I had to do it again, and that just really stuck with me. So when I was doing it for the second time, I had absolutely no motivation. I figured I don't want to do this a third time, but I don't really want to do it at all. So I really just kind of did the bare minimum. It was getting mostly D's and a couple C's if I was lucky in my classes. And so when I came to Corral, one of the things they really pushed me on was working harder at my academics and really encouraging me and telling me that I was good enough to do it, and it wasn't that I couldn't do it, it's that I wasn't doing it. And so Corral equipped me with a lot of good tools and resources to help me really work harder at school and ask for help when I needed it, which was, I think, one of the biggest things. And so when I graduated high school, I had multiple acceptance letters from a bunch of four-year universities and even a couple scholarship offers from some of those schools. And I ended up going to UNC Greensboro. And the summer before I went to college, I remember working a lot because I was so scared of having to have a job and go to school. So I saved up so I wouldn't have to work during the school year because I didn't think I was going to do well. I was so scared of what I was going to be able to do on my own without the resources that I had, that I was scared to join extracurriculars. I didn't really want to make that many friends. I didn't want to work a job because I thought it was going to be so hard and difficult that I was barely going to be able to scrape by. But I ended up really being surprised with the things that I was able to do and how well I was doing. And I ended my first semester in a couple clubs on campus. I ended it on the chancellor's list with a 3.8 something GPA. And I'm still on the chancellor's list today, and I still use so many of the skills and resources that Corral has taught me.
And you're in a second internship. Can you tell us a little bit about your summer internships?
Yeah, so I am doing my second summer internship at RTI International, which is one of the sponsors tonight. I really loved it last summer, and they asked me to come back for a second summer as a senior intern on the team, so I'm even training some of the new interns, which was really exciting.
That's awesome. Thank you both for sharing and being so vulnerable. So our aim, as Christina spoke about, is to have girls, start in middle school, start in high school, finish all the way through their senior year. And I'm proud to say that 91% of our girls who do finish as seniors do matriculate onto a 2 or 4 year college like Annalisa and Jillian did. But that's not always the case. Some of our girls choose to leave before their senior year. Some of them have to leave before their senior year. And these are very hard moments for our team here, and they often feel like failure. But what I've learned over the last 10 years is that these moments aren't failure. These are the moments to release these young women into the hands of the Holy Spirit and see that the seeds we plant here at Corral do blossom in ways we never anticipated. So I've got 2 women up here on stage. Christina spoke a little bit about it in her introduction, and another woman who's been wildly successful, even though they didn't follow the path we had for them. So Christina, in particular, you've reflected on this, what did you call it? This come to Jesus moment, or this high horse moment that we had, and how was that moment for you, and what happened afterwards?
So this come to Jesus moment, also my high horse moment that Ms. Joy is speaking about. I was failing
my chemistry course twice in consecutive semesters, and per Corral, we are to have a C average or better, and I did not obtain this. A little bit of the reason why I was having lower grades was because of my at-home life was not stable, and it was quite toxic, and it wasn't something in my control that I could really handle. But this does affect my school performance, and Ms. Joy did see this. And even though Ms. Joy kept offering me the help and the tools, I was fed up, basically, and wanted nothing to do with anything and lost a lot of motivation, and this affected my school performance. Ms. Joy brought me into the blue house, as you see behind you, and sat me down and looked at me and said, "Christina, you need to get off your high horse." And I was really confused when she told me that. I thought I had said something rude to her, but apparently not. And she said, "If you want to leave Corral, then you can. No one is holding you back." And I said, "All right." Then I would be leaving. Soon afterwards, I would tell the girls that I would be leaving, but I would eventually come back, but that did not happen. I didn't understand what she meant by getting off my high horse until years later. And I understand and saw all of the help that she had given me and the tools, and I was just not accepting any of them. And I really wanted to fail on my own. I didn't want to bring anyone down with me, and I really wanted to experience failure, truly failure, just solely on my own. And it led me to pretty dark places. It led me to a really bad crowd, but I eventually remembered those tools that she had given me and realized that I needed help once again. And that is when I reached out back to Miss Joy, even at the lowest point of my life. And she helped me get back on that horse, but not as high as she so said to me before.
So I have found that, teenagers naturally rebel against their parents. And in some ways, we take a role in our kids' lives too, that sometimes they want to rebel against us. And that's a part of their developing independence. But again, we've learned to trust them to the Holy Spirit when they're not here. And it's ugly for a moment, but they're incredible women. So Danley, you also made the decision to leave Corral early. So can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to Corral and then ultimately your decision to leave?
Yeah, so when I started Corral, I was 14 years old. I was actually currently living in my third government-ran group home. So my freedom was very limited. I stayed in Corral for 2 consecutive years after I started. I got out of my first group home, and then I went back home with my mom, and I started getting into a lot of trouble to the point where Miss Joy actually opened up her home to me and just said, "Come live with me." So I lived with her for 3 months, and then I ended up getting sent to another group home. This group home was very restrictive, and I wasn't allowed to be in Corral. I wasn't allowed to be in Corral during that program. So I was there for a year, and when I came back, a lot of the stuff had changed in Corral, and I was just desperate to, gain my independence. Christina used a really good term. She wanted to fail on her own, and I just wanted to fail on my own. I was so tired of all the rules, and I just wanted to understand why the rules are even there in the first place. So I made the decision to leave Corral when I was 16 years old. I got myself into a lot of stuff afterwards, in some really bad relationships and tricky situations, but I can say that the skills and just the stuff I learned at Corral, during the time I was in there was able to get me through those experiences. And I needed to have those experiences just to grow. And I feel like being able to experience that and overcome it made me stronger in the end.
Wow. I was crying at my desk when you were having those experiences, but, one of the things that I admire so much about both of these women is Corral has this mission, or our vision, of ending intergenerational cycles of trauma. And when I've listened to both of these women tell their stories, Christina talked quite a bit about how she's prioritized her mental health as she's gotten older and how that's different from her mother. And Danley has talked about how she's prioritized her marriage. She has an incredible marriage, and her husband's here somewhere, and a wonderful family. And there he is. And she's made a decision to really prioritize healthy relationships as an adult. And I just so admire the way that you all have chosen health in your adult lives. Yeah, for sure. Can't clap enough for that one. All right, so my next question is about our night tonight. This is our first annual homecoming. And we wanted to create a space where our alumni could come back to year after year. Because one of the things that I've found remarkable about Corral is that, our girls keep saying, Corral is my home away from home. And that was not at all what I was expecting. Certainly Christina talked about that. We even have an alumni here tonight that drove all the way from Virginia, got herself a hotel room for 2 nights just so she could be at this event. And so, this home away from home concept is something special to our alumni. But Sierra, this is something that especially resonated with you about Corral. So can you talk about how Corral was a home away from home for you?
Yeah, so Corral felt like my home away from home because it was my safe place. I felt as though I had somewhere that I could be myself and be around other girls that have also gone through similar obstacles and challenges. The staff created a space where I felt okay to be vulnerable in, which taught me many lessons that I'll always remember and be thankful for.
Thank you. And another key aspect of the program is, of course, equine therapy. We find our horses can teach things and give feedback in ways that, if an adult said it, our teens would never listen. So, Jillian, I know equine therapy was especially profound for you, and you had a unique relationship with your horse. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so one occasion that really sticks out to me is with one of the horses on this campus named River. We worked together a lot. I think we were really similar in a lot of ways. And one particular day, it was just a normal day. I was going out to catch her, put her halter on, and bring her over here for something. And I went and I put her halter on, totally normal, and then I went to go walk and she wouldn't budge. And I was like, okay, that's fine, I can get over this. And I turned around, I clicked at her, I pulled her a little more, and she just planted her feet even more. And I started to get really frustrated, but I just kind of ignored it and I shoved it down. And I just tried again and again and again, and eventually got so frustrated, unbelievably frustrated. I was yanking on her, and I don't know if you've ever tried to play tug of war with a 12,000-pound horse, but it does not go your way. Tugging on her, yelling at her, which just made her plant her feet even more. And I just couldn't do it. I unhaltered her and I walked away, and I decided that I couldn't do it. And honestly, looking back, the second time it didn't work for me is when I decided that I couldn't do it. And I just was so quick to quit. And looking back on that moment made me realize a lot of things later on, is that I really discouraged myself a lot. If something didn't go my way the first time, I decided that I wasn't good enough for it. And I was really quick to a fight or flight reaction because I lived so much of my life just scared and on edge that if something started going wrong, I got so anxious, and I would either fight like I did with River and just try and scare the scary thing away, or I would flight like I did when school got too hard for me and I just ran away from it and wouldn't do it. And looking back, that's when I kind of made a subconscious decision that I couldn't do that anymore. It took too many things that I wanted to do away from me, and that's when I really started to develop a growth mindset. One of my friends said something that is kind of funny, but it really is meaningful to me, and it really sticks with me. She said, "I love that I think that I suck at everything." because I spent so much time thinking, I hate that I think that I suck at everything because it makes me not want to do anything. But here she is loving it because it means that the sky is the limit and she's never going to be good enough. She's always going to want to work and be better at it. And that kind of just flipped it on its head for me.
So I have to think that that attitude is part of why she's on the chancellor's list now. Absolutely. Which is better than the dean's list, by the way. So a key part of our program is providing our young women access. And Danley, you noticed this when you were in Corral about how important that sort of worldview change was for you. So can you talk a little bit about how Corral provides access?
Yeah, so when I came into Corral, like I said, I was in my 3rd government-ran group home. I actually was basically in and out of group homes from ages 12 to 17. And I realized that the programs that are set up to help the youth are really limited as to what they're actually trying to do. I know that a lot of them, I mean, their goal is, keep girls from getting pregnant young, graduate high school, and stay out of jail. And that's really success as far as they're concerned. But with Corral, they take it to another level. They really want every girl to reach their fullest potential and be the best version of themselves. And I just have not seen that in any other facility or program that's set up right now.
Thank you. So women like Christina, Sierra, Jillian, Annalisa, Danley, everyone here in the crowd, they are the reason that we are here tonight. Many of us dressed in white to symbolize their healing. There's lotus blossoms that adorn the place. And that's a reminder that, like lotus blossoms, our girls often get their start in murky waters, but they blossom into the most beautiful flowers ever imaginable. And so our vision is to give this opportunity to every woman in our community who needs it. Because if you change a woman's life, you change an entire community's life. And thus, we can end the cycles of intergenerational trauma and systemic marginalization in our community. So to reach this very huge vision, we've set a strategy, a 10-year strategy that by 2030, we will go from our current state of 30 girls in our riding academy and 35 girls in our Join the Herd program, which is our feeder program, to 100 girls in our riding academy and quadruple the number of youth in our Join the Herd program. We're gonna do this by going from 2 farms to up to 4 farms in the region. And you might be asking, why multiple farms? Well, we've listened to girls like Sierra and Christina say, Corral is my home away from home. And we knew that we were getting this response, and this was so important and unique about Corral because of our small cohort model. And this family-like environment is what made Corral special and what's made the women say, this is my home away from home. And so we realized that we would miss the essence of that if we started chasing numbers like how many girls we served. So we are keeping this small farm environment so each young woman can feel like Corral is her home. So in pursuit of this strategy in 2019, we opened our first campus, our Neuse River campus, just before the pandemic hit. And so achieving escape velocity during a pandemic has been a challenge. And so part of our aim tonight is to get that farm to full capacity. By 2023, we aim to get that farm, by the end of 2023, we aim to get that farm to full capacity. And so tonight, $200,000 will support that strategy. More specifically, it will welcome 60 more girls into our program this fall onto our farms. So that by 2030, those women will be standing up here like these women, and they'll be talking about their remarkable stories of resilience and flourishing. This vision we have is grounded in faith. It's grounded in my faith and my desire to enact biblical justice. But regardless of your faith, I suspect that your belief that if Corral plants the seeds, God will produce the increase will resonate with you. So I want to share this scripture with you that describes a shared responsibility in this work. My work was to plant the seeds in your heart, and Apollo's work was to water it. But it was God, not we, who made the garden grow in your hearts. The person who does the planting or watering isn't very important, but God is important because he's the one who makes things grow. Apollos and I are working as a team with the same aim, though each of us will be rewarded for his own hard work. You see, Corral's role is to plant seeds, but we need our seed investors. You all are our waterers. The women whose stories we've heard tonight, the stories that were printed on your place card, the dozens of women and alumni in this room, the hundreds who couldn't be here tonight, they're flourishing, in part because of the seeds our donors have sown in their lives. So I'd like to take a minute to ask all of our alumni in the crowd to stand up, all of our panelists to stand up, so we can celebrate the choice that these women made to walk towards their very bright future. You all are amazing, beautiful, resilient women, and I am so blessed to have been able to know you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will consider being our co-laborers in this mission, planting seeds, watering them, and having the faith that these young women will blossom into the adults that God designed them to be. $200,000 tonight will welcome 60 more girls into our programs who were once, or 60 more girls who will be like these women one day. And we'll be welcoming them into our community so that together you and I can work together to end cycles of intergenerational trauma and systemic marginalization in our community. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you will join me.